I said in the beginning, may I answer, I said in the beginning that I'm not going to tell my history from family. My father married a girl from Gozlin. Gozlin mit Gerrer was like he could walk. Her father was a little farmer. And my father didn't have what to do in her place, because I may say to people, there used to be a custom in the old days, any person who married stayed 2 years in his wife's place. Next door, I want to tell that next door to Gozlin, there was a name, a little city called Gerrer. And at the time when he married, it was in 1904, and he stayed at the Gerrer Rebbe, he learned a lot of things. He became his fellow person who used to go to him after the years when he went back to Biala Podlaska. The point was that all my mother's brothers and sisters, she had another few brothers and another few old married Rebbes. I don't want to mention all the Rebbes. My father had a little bit of trouble. He didn't go to the Rebbes from his wife, brothers, but he went to Gerrer. But then the brothers didn't like it then because he doesn't go to them. As a joke. This is from my mother's side. Regarding my father, I was born in Biala Podlaska. Biala Podlaska was a very nice city. It's the next door to Berysz Aurbach. Berysz Aurbach is near Russia side, east side, east of Poland, next to Russia. There was very big rabbis there. One rabbi used to call the Biala Rebbe, what stayed in Biala Podlaska. And when I was born, they gave me my name, Berysz Aurbach. That was my grandfather's name. My grandfather didn't live anymore. At that time, he was a very rich man. He used to have a custom to go as he was another chutzpah, a Kotsk. But the position was, he couldn't go to Kotsk every day. Kulka is connected with Kotsk.
Okay.
Kulka worked. The position was that the Biala Rebbe used to be his friend, not as a chusset, his friend. He used to have a custom, that was told in Biala, they used to bring every Shabbos nachts a chaim with a cake. As a friend, and he used to him, that was his resting place for pleasure, not for business. In the end, the Biala Rebbe, my grandfather had a big place called just in Biala Podlaska, called Bdeska 15, number 15. In the beginning, he called Bdeska because the line to want to Berysz Aurbach. In later years, they gave it another name. I don't remember the name anymore. But the position was that my father was a rich man. My grandfather, my father yarsum for my father, for his father. And he was a rich man, he had a lot of factories. The place was in Bdeska 15, had 4 gates to get into it. from different sections from the city, because there used to be a lot of forces used to come in. He had a factory, a Melin Motorovi, called it.
A flour mill.
A flour factory. There was a bakery, there was other factories, wine. Used to, in the old days, in the Russian time, used to be a brewery. In the last year when I was born, the brewery didn't exist, but they still exist. The bakery, the millinery, this whole thing. So till today, if my grandfather promised the Biala Rebbe a place in his property, if they built a Berysz Shtibel there, in the place where I was born, my father didn't go to that Shtibel. The other brothers who went, my father went to Gerrer Rebbe Shtibel. But the position was that the Biala Rebbe gave in contract in the Polish, not only Chesed al Berysz Shtibel, they built the Shtibel. And there used to be, when I come home from the other place where with my father, I find people are going out from that Shtibel every Shabbos and every Yom Tov. So till today, the place is still what the Polish people, when I came back from the ghetto, and I came back to Biala straight away, I thought I got something. My father, in my whole family, lived in a different part in Warsaw. We brought him from Biala to Warsaw. And he got burned in ghetto. I was in a different part, and my father, with my brother, with the children, with everything, lived in a different section. What I find out when I came here, find out that my father got burned in Pesach on the last day of Pesach, more or less information. In my Uhrzeit is on the 7th of Pesach, spiritual Pesach. That's all what I know. And I came back to Biala to my property. I find out that the workers, after when they had the free time, they demolished the factory. Every worker took a part from the factory. That's what I find out. They made a deal between them. They destroyed the place, and everybody took a part. One took the motor, one took the Walzen, they call the Walzen, the name of the machinery. So, what can I say? One thing I saw, they didn't even, when they took out the motor the motor was buried, the foundation was buried in the earth. I found out a big hole instead of the factory of the Melin. I found out because they didn't even bother to cover earth to full out. When I found out, I found the hole. In the end, it happened that I had my mother's brother lived in Australia because one son-in-law brought him to Australia. So I asked the Biala committee in Australia. They told to my uncle, to my mother's brother, he still was alive for a while, and he gave them permit to make me a permit, and I came to Australia. In Australia, another story started. Yeah. And that, more or less, that is my history, but not in full. Only we call it in Hebrew Rosh Tevis. Rosh Tevis means only to remember what I talked about it. I can only say in the end, I said Rosh Tevis for my whole history. If you want to read more history, you have to take a copy from the what they call it,
Holocaust Center.
from the Holocaust Center. Von der Biala Holocaust Center oder von Beit Shem, Yad Vashem, or from the Beit Colorist Center in New York. And some people told me when they asked for a copy, it didn't take very long today to get it. In the end, I want to say one thing. It is my birthday, and I thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much.